Well, here we are. This is our last stop. We've come up to 3rd and Broadway to the $1 Million Theater.
To the $1 Million. Last stop, first movie palace on the street, and it's a miracle we still have a 1917 Sid Grauman movie palace here. He had started up in the Pacific Northwest and built a large theater up there, the Coliseum, which basically established the movie palace idea. Then came down here into the entertainment capital and decided he really wanted to show how to build a theater. So he did. The $1 million is actually what the theater cost to build, which was a fortune in 1917.
Really? That's how it got its name?
That's how it got its name.
And this was built before the famous Grauman's Chinese Theater?
Oh, yes. Yes, this is 4 or 5 years before that.
I got you. And it's being cleaned up? The building is being... What's going on over here now?
Well, this is some of the good news. The building is getting a bath. The terracotta hasn't been that shiny and clean since the building opened.
This is the old Department of Water and Power building that Mulholland had his offices in.
He has, and it's also a nice big piece of good news for Broadway. Ira Yellen and the Redevelopment Agency are developing this as low-cost apartments, and the theater is being used right now for a church. It's a good sign.
So wait a minute, this is a church now. It's not being used as a theater per se.
Right. It's strictly a church for the time being.
And we forgot to mention when we went by the Grand Ole Los Angeles Theater that it is also closed now and just sitting there.
Right. And we're very concerned about it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly how I feel as we end this tour. Optimistic, pessimistic. All I know is that we have a real gem here on Broadway. We've just been 10 blocks, but there are a lot of theaters to see, a lot of, you know, it's a real asset, could be a real asset to our city.
I think so too, and I think what's missing is some sort of sense or the right individual or group to basically pull together the different people who've been working on these projects in their own directions to bring us all together and make something happen down here.
So whether it's private, or whether it's the city, or whether it's the state, or whether it's an individual or a group of individuals, if we could all get together with some kind of vision, it might still happen.
Absolutely. It's got to happen. It's too good a chance for us to miss.
Well, here we are in front of the Los Angeles Theater on Broadway, and to show you the amount of public support for these wonderful old Broadway theaters, look at the line down here. Now, these people are standing in line to go inside to watch a wonderful old classic movie. What this is, it's called the Last Remaining Seats. This is the 8th annual series, the 8th time they have done this. It's sponsored by the Los Angeles Conservancy. They open up these old theaters, sell tickets, raise money for preservation, and here are all the people who have shown up. It's 7:30 at night, and they're getting ready to go inside and see a classic old movie in a wonderful old movie palace. Now, ladies, what do you think about this wonderful old theater?
Oh, it's gorgeous. I wish there was more of them.
Yeah. Well, now, did you used to come here to see movies?
Well, a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Does it seem as glamorous now as it did back then?
Oh, indeed. I've lived here my whole life. I'm a native. And I came here with my folks when I was, I suppose, 3 or 4 years old, the first time I remember coming here.
Well, what do you think is so special about these old movie palaces?
Well, the beauty of it and the architecture, because the new ones aren't anything like this.
Well, now, what would you say to the people that say, hey, you're just going in to see a movie, it's the movie that's important, not the theater that you're seeing it in?
Well, I disagree with that, because I think to see a movie, a picture or a play in a theater like this can't be beat.
Yeah.
It's the best.
You like it?
Oh, it's wonderful. I'm a native
too.
Also, and my mother and my father and my brother and I used to come downtown to Broadway to these gorgeous theaters. The Los Angeles was always my favorite. That waterfall is wonderful. Excuse me.
Well, let's stand and look at this waterfall. This is the waterfall she was talking about.
Wonderful.
Look at this thing. This is spectacular.
It is wonderful. And even the crystals have been cleaned for this evening's affair. Isn't it wonderful?
Oh, boy.
It's really beautiful.
That is something.
And it gives a real good feeling to be here.
We came from the area that we live on, the red car that used to come right down middle of Broadway and get off here at the corner and come in here. New Year's Eve was a great affair. at the Los Angeles Theater on Broadway, right, Mama?
That's right.
Oh,
That's
we
right.
had such
And
fun.
there's the fountain.
And
It's
always
still going.
Still going after all these years.
Now, what do you think about this old movie palace?
Oh, I think this is great. You walk into a modern theater and there's nothing like it. It's very solid, cold. You walk into here and it's beautiful. You can, people came here to socialize. You feel welcome. You're always in awe. You come here and people are friendly. It's such a different than going to a regular theater that is today.
Do you think these theaters, though, are kind of dinosaurs, or do you think there's really a chance that they can be viable again?
I mean, if you get more people exposed to this and they see how glamorous and beautiful this is, and movie going would be such a whole new experience rather than, oh, well, we have nothing to do tonight, let's go to a movie kind of thing. Here, this is something you go out to a nice dinner, you come out and you go to a nice theater like this and you walk and you feel good. You feel good. It's something you remember, It's something that stays in your mind for a long time.
Wow.
But
You're glad to be here, aren't you?
yes, I am. This is the second time I've come with the Los Angeles Conservancy series, and I was first exposed to it last year, and I completely forgot that it was going on this year until we flipped and finally remembered, and so I'm glad I'm back here, and it's something we'll probably continue to do for a long time.
Now, we're standing in the lobby with two photographers who have done some wonderful work over here. What you have done is to go into all these old historic theaters down here on Broadway and take pictures of them. And that's no easy task, is it?
No, it isn't. A lot of them don't have any existing light in, so it's quite a difficult chore.
Yeah, I think that's the problem we have with our television cameras. When you go in there and try and show the beauty of the places, they're like huge big caves. It's very hard to make them come alive to a camera.
But in a way, that's really a challenge because you're working with a palette and a blank canvas, and you go in and it's black and you add the lights as you please and highlight the details that you want, and it really makes it much more of a challenge.
Now, did you have any idea what you were going to find when you turned those lights on and started taking those pictures in these wonderful old theaters?
Well, we had to have a little idea. We originally discovered the Orpheum Theater about 3 years ago. Robert had attended a Jazz on Film series and had no idea, what that theater was all about until he walked in. And he came back to the office the next day and said, "Oh my God, it's amazing. We have to go down and shoot." And that was really the first theater that we shot. But once we got involved with that and started seeing what was going on in some of the other places, we just couldn't stay away.
Now, when you came back to the office and said, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe what's down there," what did you mean by that?
You don't find craftsmanship like this anywhere in LA. I mean, LA is basically a new city. I mean, I went in and said, "Wow, this is amazing. I have to find out who runs this place." Because as you go around here, you can see the detail, the fabrics, the handrails. You don't see that kind of work anymore. And the thought that these places are starting to crumble and they're starting to tear them down, it just breaks your heart. And I said, "Wow, we have to get in here." And
now, are you doing this to kind of document something before it is torn down, or maybe to helpfully get people interested and restore these theaters by what they see in your picture?
That's the main hope, because as you know, the street down here, it's not the best neighborhood. You can't get people down to see the theaters, so we thought we'd take these pictures and bring the theaters to the people. And the thing is, events like this, you can get people here, but this theater just closed a month ago because they had no attendance. They're losing money. And most people in LA don't know these things are here. My family's been here for 50 or 60 years, and they didn't even know these things are here.
Yeah.
And that's the
well,
main
a
thing.
lot of the old timers know about them,
Right.
but I don't know about others.
It's really interesting because LA has a very rich cultural and architectural history that so many young people especially are not aware of. So what we're hoping is by bringing these photographs to the public, to make everybody aware what's going on down here and hopefully inspire some sort of renaissance in the neighborhood and save what we can, what's left.
I don't think there's enough public support. I don't think people realize what we're losing, and by the time they realize it, it will be gone.
Yeah. Well, that's not a very optimistic...
I'm sorry.
You're getting me depressed.
No, but we should enjoy it while it's here. And maybe if we see things like this on TV and people realize that they're here, people don't know they're still around.
Yeah.
Maybe then they'll come and see them.
Yeah.
And take care of them.
Yeah. What is it about these old theaters that makes people smile when they come inside?
Well, I remember this when I was a little girl. That's one of the reasons why I smile about it. It brings back a lot of memories to me. Happy memories.
Well, now, are you happy about the state of them today?
Well, no, I'm not happy about the state, but I'm happy about the ones they've saved. Across the country, they've saved a lot of beautiful theaters.
What about here in LA?
Well, we were just talking about that. Makes me very sad that they haven't done more. Really.
You think there's any chance?
I think if enough of us make a big hullabaloo about it, I think so. Will that go on TV? Sorry to say that word.
Yeah, here's a lady here getting ready to make a hullabaloo about this situation. You better watch out, right?
Right.
Do you think most people in LA know about these places?
No, not at all. When you walk up front, you'd have no idea that this, I mean, we stood in line next to a garbage dump, and you walk around the corner and there's this hidden behind it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do the whole series and check them all out, and I think it's really wonderful that they bring old movies back, because it brings the whole era back to life.
Well, do you think that's enough to keep these places alive? Because they're in financial trouble.
No, I don't. I'm an actor myself, and I think this is the perfect forum to have live shows happening again, and it's a new way to revamp the whole, not so much vaudeville, but a new form of entertainment from the 90s. And I think opening up a theater like this to the general public is wonderful.
Do you think enough people would come down here to support a theater on Broadway?
I've got a billion friends who, yeah, I do. I think if it was marketed the right way, I think it would be a wonderful way to get young actors out there and to get people to come and see them.
Yeah.
It'd have to be supported, though. I mean, it'd have to have corporate support. The LA Theater Center didn't make it, and that was really too bad, because they did incredible work, and it couldn't be supported. So we got to get people back involved and revitalize downtown.
It's just, it's the history of it that's so exciting, and the fact that everyone's trying to rebuild LA. Well, why don't you take a look at what is already in LA, as opposed to rebuilding what is, you know, new. Take a look at what's old and go from there. I think it's exciting.
I think they're going to sign you up. I think you've just become become the chairperson of the Save the Historic Theaters Committee.
I'll do that.
Sign her up. Next morning, we headed over to the Orpheum Theater and spent some time with Gaylord Carter, who's known worldwide as one of the most famous movie organists ever. He played the organ in these grand old palaces back in the silent movie days. Do you think, though, that maybe these things have outlived their day? Are these dinosaurs?
Well, they're dinosaurs in this respect, that they're just too big for the average audience. But when you get, like just about a week ago today for Ben-Hur, we absolutely packed this theater, clear up to the back row of the balcony, and it was, we used the organ for the scoring of the picture, and but for special events, the people will come, but I don't think they will come on a basis of daily routine showing of films.
Well, you can't keep them open for special events.
No, you
they got to
can't.
make a profit.
They do, and I would imagine that, of course, Cohen could tell us, but I bet the taxes are some on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, you've traveled around the country. You've seen other communities and what they have done or haven't done with their old theaters. Is it kind of a mixed bag out across the country?
It's a mixed bag in this way, that when a theater property won't pay its way, they get rid of it. And I've seen so many, but there have been a lot that have revived. I just recently played a concert in the Victory Theater in Dayton, Ohio, which had been completely revived, and they found the new Wurlitzer pipe organ in an old one, and then they moved it in there, put it in. I gave a concert there just recently. I've more or less retired from touring, but I've been touring for 30 years, and I played the great theaters like the Paramount in Seattle. There's another wonderful, gorgeous theater. Seats about 3,000 people.
And it's been restored.
It's been restored.
How do our theaters in L.A. stack up against the great theaters of the country?
Well, an awful lot of them are gone, but fortunately this one and Lowe State, it's now called the State Theater. When I came here in 1922, I went down to the State Theater and I saw The Prisoner of Zenda. And of course that was a silent movie. The screen found its voice in 1930 and 1931, and this and all other theaters converted to sound.
But how do we stack up? How are these theaters on Broadway thought of in comparison to the other theaters of the country?
Well,
are these great theaters?